out of all the people I know, specifically with like doing course careers and getting it, like y'all two are the two people I'm so hype about. Because it feels so like dope when it's like, yo, because it's one thing for, you know, strangers or people who don't really know you to be like, okay, I'm gonna check this out. It's a whole nother thing when people that have been seeing you for a while, like, you know what, I trust you enough. I don't think like you're gonna cap. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. You know, especially you being such a smart woman, a sharp woman. I'm like, yo, it's like, yo, get to this bag, like straight up. So yeah. So anyway, I'm
I'm happy to be here.
And just happy. So yeah, again, I know already said sorry.
I'm happy to be here.
Congratulations. Yeah. So first off, I guess I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself. And
hi everybody. My name is Naja. You can probably catch me on all platforms as Ulala Naj. Yes, I'm in FinTech right now, but I have 6 years of HR behind me. I'm really passionate about helping people feel less broken, so I'm a life coach as well outside of tech. But yeah, definitely, Cyrus introduced me to the tech world. I was a little skeptical at first, but I did it, and here I am actually. We'll go into it, but it was a really quick journey for me to pivot into tech.
Yeah, that's super dope, and I agree 100% with skepticism. That's why I always tell people I'm never really trying to convince anybody. It's more like it's not like, you know, like our faith or like theology where it's like, man, I'm really trying to convince you because you need this. Like, this is the way. It's more so like, yo, this isn't necessarily the only way. But it's like, dang, it's a really good way. Exactly. It's a really good way though. So no, yeah, even I was super skeptical. And I didn't have anybody on social media that was like flapping their gums talking about it. I just was at such a desperate place. I was like, look, I'm already broke. I got to do something right now. And so, yeah, so super cool. So you did course careers. When did you do the program, and how long did it take you to finish it? Because for those who don't know, it's a self-paced
which is
program.
A really, really good thing, especially if you are have time constraint or anything like that. It's definitely good to have a self-paced because you can finish on your own time. For me, I started in August, so it took me 4 weeks to complete it. You can finish it sooner if you really have nothing to do, but for 2 weeks, I was still working full-time in HR, and for the next 2 weeks, I was just doing the course and just kind of just getting by, honestly, because I knew that if I wanted to go into tech, I had to put all my eggs in this basket. So for me, I was like, you know what, I need to focus on this one thing. And then I was also juggling grieving the loss of my father. So it was just too much at one time.
Yeah,
it was too much at one time. So for me, I was like, you know what, if I'm leaving HR, then I just need to do it. I know, you could always get another HR job. So for me,
I wouldn't know.
Well, I come from state government work, so it's for me, I was just like, I can always get another HR job. So I just wanted to focus on one, grieving, and also getting into the tech space, which was my goal at the time. So it took me 4 weeks to complete it, and honestly, like I said, I love that it was self-paced because those days that I didn't really feel like doing it, I could literally just take a day or two and then get right back to it. But I thought the course was really, really great, very informative, and it landed me in FinTech in 8 weeks. So
yeah, that's dope. So I didn't. For those who don't know, I didn't do course careers. I did the careerist boot camp. After I did careerist, and then after being in tech for a few months, because at first it's like we talk about being skeptical of like even the boot camps, but I was skeptical even about the industry. I was like, nah, like, is this industry really like this, or is everybody just faking for now? And then once I realized, oh, this is legit, the money is legit, and even when I realized what I was getting paid was like little, and like it's like, oh, there's a lot of money here. That's when I was like, yo, I need to start talking about it on my page. And then shortly after talking about it, I found out that course careers, for those who don't know, most of these boot camps, if you do them, or if you're a tech influencer, they will usually reach out to you, or you'll be able to partner with them to not just tell people about the program, but one, you can help people get a discount, and two, usually they provide some type of like incentive or like kickback type of thing. And so I try to say that all the times. I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna like sit out here and cap to y'all. Like there ain't some type of like,
Yeah.
you know, ain't nothing getting got on the back end. But it's like, but at the same time, there are so many programs out here. Try to only like mention like the few ones that are pretty dope. So, but yeah, so super cool that you why do you think you chose? Why do you think you chose course careers?
Honestly, it was a lot to do with like me just being skeptical about it. Like, it's not that I didn't trust you or anything like that, but I think it was more so me coming from HR. I was just, you know, we talked about it. I was like, how am I going to go from HR to tech? Like, where do I fit in this? Yeah, how do I fit in this field? How do I transfer the skills that I have and pivot into tech? And so, you know, with you and then along with doing like research and stuff like that, I kind of found out that a lot of those HR skills transfer over. So, and I actually utilized that in interviewing, and we'll get to that. But a lot of those skills transferred over. But I chose course careers, one, because it was self-paced, two, because it was the least expensive. I'm gonna lie, it was the least expensive. Because to me, I was just like, you know what, if this is not really what I want to do, at least, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you could lose that money.
So I just wanted to test the waters. I was like, if I could do this, then maybe I could do more. So for me, I was just like, I went on there, I did the free intro course, and I got excited about it, to be honest. And it just seemed like a really good program. Even from the intro, it gave a lot of information before going into it. They had the payment plan if you didn't have the full $500. They had the 14-day money-back guarantee. Like, it was no real risk. So for me, it was more so like, okay, are you really going to do this? And my why, which I guess we'll get into later, but my why was strong enough for me to be like, yeah, I need to get out of HR and go into tech. So that's why I chose course careers, and I'm glad I did, to be honest.
Yeah, people always ask me, they're like, well, Cyrus, why didn't you do it? I'm like, because I didn't know about it. When I was getting it, I just knew about I knew about a few boot camps, and I chose. Yeah. I'm happy I did the one I did. I'm happy that I chose sales engineering. Nevertheless, the same reasons you mentioned, if I knew about both at the same time, I would have been thinking, okay, it's easier. Like, if it doesn't work out, you know, it's like, yo, it's easier for me to lose $500 than it is for me to lose, like, at the time, Careers to Boot Camp I did was $3,500, and so. So yeah, that's like a big difference. But nevertheless, I'm happy that I went the route. And so yeah, but I definitely agree. Whenever people make that decision, I'm like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it was easier on me, definitely.
100%. So when you put my charger in here. So you did the boot camp. Mm-hmm. You had a good experience with it. So how long did it take you after the boot camp before you got a job?
Weeks. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't do a lot of interviews. Me being in HR, I know what to look for. I know what I want in a position. And so I was applying to a lot of jobs, but I wasn't taking the interview for every single job. Like, I was really thoroughly combing through.
Yeah, you was turning interviews down.
You was like, nah, I'm good. Because I was just like, you know what? I worked in HR. I know what I'm looking for. I know the jargon that companies use. I know the company's going to have good work culture. I just know certain things, even down to interviewing. So, I help people now with interviewing, mock interviews and things of that nature, because that's what I come from. So I'm like, okay, I know what these companies are looking for.
Yeah.
But it literally took me 4 weeks after completing the course to land a job. I had offers, not even for tech sales, but for like tech recruiting, just different types of other sales. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, because you probably because of your HR background.
Like, I was going to go that route, but I was like, you know what? I already did this. Let me just stay on the course and, just do what I set out to do. And I'm glad I did, because the company I work for is amazing. Amazing. So, yeah, it took me 4 weeks to land a job, and I didn't even know I was going to go into fintech. I really did not. I had no idea, but I actually didn't even apply for the job. They found me. So. Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, I love that. So for people who don't know what fintech is, because she's referenced fintech a few times, fintech is financial technology. So in the tech industry or the software industry, there are many different sub industries that are kind of paired with tech. So for example, you have financial technology. Most people know about the finance industry. So you have fintech. You also have like health tech or med tech for people that are in the healthcare space or the medical space. You have ed tech for people that are in the educational space, but also are at a tech company. And I mean, the list goes on and on. So just to kind of like touch on it, fintech is one of the highest paying, if not the highest paying part of the technology sector, because the financial industry by itself is one of the highest paying industries. The only industry, like large industry, that's on par with pay with tech is the finance industry. So when you pair that and the tech industry together, it's like the money. I don't know if you saw the interview that I did with the girl that I interviewed, the FinTech Latina, on the podcast. Yeah, so she's only been in tech for a little over 2 years, and she's already at over $220,000 a year. And so it's like, and she's in fintech, so it's like it's really stupid. Yeah, super good. So all right, so let's so you can share what all you're comfortable with, because I know I share more than most people are probably comfortable with online. But like, what are some of the benefits and the offering package that they gave you? And then after this, I want to backtrack to like some of the things you did while interviewing, maybe some of the things you did on LinkedIn, stuff like that. But what is the company that you're at? I guess what was the package that they offered you that you accepted them out of all the other companies that was choosing?
Well, okay, so I'll say this first and foremost: 90% of the tech companies are going to be remote. I specifically chose a company that was not remote. I have never worked remote, and I'm not saying that it's not a great thing. I think it's an amazing thing. But I specifically chose a company that is not remote. But it's 3 minutes from my home, so. And we don't have a dress code, so it's not exactly, like, it literally takes me 5 minutes, if I miss a light. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I chose that company. But I could tell through interviewing and meeting some of the people that already worked there that it was a great work culture, first and foremost, because I worked in state government. There's a lot of people there that are just waiting to retire. They're old. I'm young, okay? So just imagine me being there, and it's all these older people, they're just waiting to retire. You know, there's low employee morale. Like, I hated it, to be honest. But to me, I thought that was great money. I was just like, you know what? I'm in HR. Everybody I knew was like, oh, you're doing it big. No.
Yeah. I mean, because that's still better money than what most people are getting.
I was grateful, but now that I am where I am, I'm like, oh, darn. Like, I was gonna be chilling. I was gonna be coasting from here on out, but so they had a great work culture. And even though I said that they're in office, if I need a mental health day, if I have to take my dog to the doctors, or I just don't feel like coming to work, I could work from home at any time. So they are in office, but I have the flexibility to work from home whenever I want to. I had the flexibility to do that. And after a year, if I move to any other state, because their headquarters is where I live at, if I move to any other state, I can work from home. So I just had to put in a year just to do that. But I have the flexibility to work from home anytime I want to. I don't care if I wake up and I say, you know, I got a headache. I don't want to go to work today. I will work from home. So I have that flexibility. I love that.
Yo, for everybody who is listening and you're thinking that you're interested in a career in tech sales, I suggest you check out Course Careers. Course Careers is a tech boot camp that you can do entirely from home. It's entirely virtual, and it's self-paced. So that means you can knock it out in as early as 2 weeks, or even take a few months if you need to. Now, the really cool thing about Course Careers is that they're actually partnered with multiple tech companies that are hiring their students right after finishing the program. The great thing about Course Careers is that with those partnerships, they're able to guarantee you jobs with some of their partner companies. Now, beyond that alone, the other cool thing we want to tell you about them is that Course Careers is actually only $500. That's it, nothing more, nothing less. But since we partner with Course Careers, they're offering our audience a discount of $50 off that already low price. So make sure you use our discount link that we have below, so that way you can take advantage of that $50 off that already low price. Do Course Careers at your own pace, and let us know what job you end up getting from it.
Was that you were talking about how last thing you had said was that the company, even though the company's like nearby, it's a few minutes away from where you stay and you work in office, that on one end you said that they give you the flexibility that if you ever need to work in home,
Definitely.
you can work from home. So you have that flex model. But also, if you move, they'll like you can stay at the company and they'll just allow you to work remote.
Correct. Yeah. So you can't just come straight in working from home because they are on site, which 90% of the companies are going to be remote, but you have that 10% that's going to be on site. But I specifically chose that one because I love the company. When I had the interview, both my VP and my manager, they were amazing. Like, honestly, I'm so used to interviewing because I work in the HR that when I go in, I don't prep. I don't prep. I just go as myself. I know.
Fire.
I know what I've done,
Yeah.
so I don't even have to look at the paper. They can ask me year, they can ask me what I've done. I know what I've done already. Every question that they ask, literally when they ask a question, I'm answering it, also answering the question that they're gonna have after that. So they're like, well, I was gonna ask you this, but that's because I worked 6 years at HR. If you work 6 years at HR and don't know how to do an interview or conduct an interview or even, be the person that's interviewed, then I don't know what you're doing. So
Shanae, the tech recruiter, she recently started taking on clients and people to like help them with their interview training.
Yeah.
Is that something? And this is a complete like tangent from our conversation. Is that something that you think eventually you would do because of your extensive HR background?
So yes, I am actually already doing that for Course Career students. So let me tell you how I got into that though. I'm already So I'm already a life coach. So I help people process their trauma. But I was what happened was Troy set me up with his new UX designer. So she was just going over what the new platform would look like, and it's good. It's getting there right now as we speak. But the new platform, I'm like, you know what? I wish that I was using this platform because it's so much better than when I used it. But I was able to see what the new platform would look like, and they were telling me that you would have certain options as a student and as a employer to look for people that you want to hire. And I was like, I hit up Troy and I said, okay, well, what about the students that are having trouble landing jobs? Like, employers are not seeking them. They're looking at their resume like, I don't want to talk to them, or or they're just interviewing, not in a good way. Like, what about those students? Because you can go in and you can be picked up like that, but there are other students who are struggling. It's a very small percentage, but
Kai,
go ahead. Sorry.
Do you know Malachi?
Yes.
Yeah. So Kai and I, we were literally talking on the phone today, and we were talking about how like people like yourself or like Shanae, like how like having like a basically like an interview training. And I was like, literally, I said to Kai, I was like, bro, you know what? I was like, I'm gonna really start recommending people to. I mean, I'll do it for Shanae, but also yourself. I was like, because I think the only difference, I'm like, because why did I get hired as fast as I did? Kai, this person, like, all the people that I know, I was like, well, the main consistency I know from everyone that I know. One thing, I know that they're hardworking, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that are hardworking. But I was like, man, like, how come some people aren't getting hired as quickly? And I was like, yo, the only thing it could really come down to is that they don't know how to interview.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's really the thread, the in-between threads. It's like, yo, the boot camp gives you the education. It like, depending on which boot camp you do, it's like they'll either help you with your resume or help you with your LinkedIn or help with something. They give you the basics of what you need to get the interviews or to at least like be able to like connect with the different tech recruiters and hiring managers.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, how come people aren't getting the jobs? And I was like, oh, I think that's the in-between thread.
Yeah. That's definitely the piece, because a lot of people say, oh, I want to get my resume together. And I tell people all the time, the resume will get you the interview, but your presence will get you in the door. So, for me, I'm just like, so I hit up Troy and I'm like, okay, well, what about the students that are having trouble? Because I had so many people hit me up like, hey, like, help me out. So I was like, you know what? I wasn't even offering myself. Low key I was, but, I was like, I said, Troy, what about the students that are struggling right now? Like, they should be able to access a coach on the site. And Troy was like, that sounds like a great idea. He came back and was like, do you want to be a coach? So literally, me and a couple other people that I recommended is listed on the site So when you're going through the site, if you need coaching, you can hit up a coach and say, hey, I need some help going through the course. I need help with the final. I need help with interviewing, whatever it may be. There is a small fee, but
yeah,
you have access to coaches, and we're literally listed on the site, the new site.
Shanae, I see you here in the chat. Shanae, you should do this with some of these other boot camps out here, because Shanae was telling me recently how she's noticed a couple of the boot camps that's like been an issue with some of them. And
yeah.
So I think that'll be super, super fire. Yeah, that's.
And
fire.
I've already started, and it's honestly getting into the tech space just has opened up so many doors, and I'm in awe, to be honest.
That's one of the things, and one of the things Kai and I talk about a lot, and we'll probably talk about this offline in the future, is that it's like just working the job in this industry. If you just work a job in this industry, you're gonna make six figures. Like the bag is here just to do your clock in, clock out, work your job. But it's like there are so many ways to get a bag in this industry.
Yes.
People don't even realize it's like untapped potential. And so like Kai and I was literally on his couch and we were chopping it up like 2 months ago. And he was telling me, he was like, yeah, man, I kind of need like an extra like $5,000 or $10,000 for like an investment thing he was trying to do. And I was like, oh, bro, you could do this in the industry and do this and do that. And he did it, and literally 2 weeks later had that money in his account. And it's like, and that's one thing. Eventually, I'm gonna bring people on the podcast to talk about the different various ways to get a bag. And that's why there are some people in tech that are multi-millionaires. Yeah. And it's like, how are they millionaires? And it's like, well, because they know other ways to get a bag in this industry. It's just right now, I'm just focused mainly on the basics of just telling people how to get a six-figure job in the industry. But it's like, eventually, it's like, yo, there's so much to do in this industry. It's really insane. It's really incredible.
I even have a few people, even though it's listed on Course Careers site, I even have people on from Careers that is on LinkedIn, not even on Course Careers site, but they're just reaching out saying like, hey, I know you work in HR. Can you help me do this, and that? So even from Careers too. And honestly, at first I was thinking like, oh, I didn't take Careers. I can't. Like, what am I help these people with? But to be honest, I was like, all right, well, let's just have like a short discovery call so I can see if I can help you. And most of it is, it's landing the interviews, going through the interview, mock interviewing, and things of that nature. I tell people all the time, like, have a great resume. That's going to get you the interview, but your presence is going to get you through the door. So.
No, definitely. I think that's good. Yeah, I definitely agree that you shouldn't limit yourself to just a tech sales thing. I think most of what you know, being in HR, your tenure in HR, there's a lot that you know that could definitely benefit people. And sometimes it's not even, and I'm preaching to the choir, but I guess I'm more so saying this to everybody here. Like sometimes it's not even people knowing the right answers to questions. Sometimes it's their delivery, it's their posture, their body language, their inflection in their voice, things like that. And those are things that, because Careers gives like a cheat sheet on how to answer certain questions, but what they don't do, they don't give that additional training like I just mentioned. Like, yo, fix your posture, your body language. Yo, how are you communicating? How are you talking? Yo, relax a little bit.
Exactly.
Slow down, you're talking too fast or you're saying too much. Those are things that they don't do that I think that training that like you give those things that you know will be incredibly like invaluable. I think that's super dope. Let me know if eventually you and again we'll talk more about this offline. But eventually, if you set it up, even outside of Course Careers, maybe if you have like a Calendly or something, and I would love to like direct.
I do have one. Yeah, I do have one.
Say less. Say less.
Yeah, I'm ready. 2023 is the year. Okay.
Let's get. Okay, I see Kai here in the chat, Shanae in the chat. We probably all need to talk and like come up with something. I'm with that. I'm totally with that. This is so dope. So happy that you're not just in this industry, but you're already like God is already opening other doors for you in this industry to utilize your old skills outside of your 9 to 5 in this space. So that's fire. My bad, y'all. I want to get back on track because I'm just getting giddy over the things that I'm giddy over.
No, that's actually a good thing that you brought that up because that's exactly how I landed in fintech because we do AP automation, so automatic payments, automatic invoices, and we're growing as a company. So we're going to be offering so much more, but we literally have a platform that does literally everything that an AP processor would do. So you could free up so much time, so much money. And most times, my market is healthcare. So I work with hospitals, 30 million up to 500 million. That's my market that I work with. Like, we have different markets. We have K through 12, physician offices, manufacturing, but mine specifically is healthcare. And so the reason I was able to leverage the fact that I come from HR, which your finance office is a part of HR, I was able to leverage that I come from an HR background in order to land this fintech job. Because I know the people that I'm calling, you know, I know what they're looking for. I know their pain areas. Even though I worked in HR, I did do a little bit of financing as well. So for me, I was able to leverage that. So not only did like all of my HR experience and skills transfer over, but just the fact that I came from an HR background was great, you know, for me to land that job. And I tell people that all the time. Like, I ask them, where did they come from? Like, what do you have experience in? Because there's tech companies that service that. So it's like, I tell people like, okay, well, if you come from trucking, look for some companies that service trucking companies. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was really good that I come from an HR background. So I was able to use literally everything to land that job.
Yeah, that's super good. And even whenever people, because there are some people that are like, well, I come from a background that doesn't really seem like it fully fits in with tech. It's like one of the other things is people being able to just speak to their skill set in a way that is similar to that specific role in tech. Like how Kai, you know, Kai was he was a correctional officer. Right. I don't think they have anything for officers in tech just yet. I know right now they're doing things like they're starting to implement robot.
Right. I saw that.
Yeah, like robot officers and like different things. Yeah. But it's like right now there's not like a real officer tech industry merger yet. But it's like what Kai was able to communicate, he was able to communicate how his skill set. So after he did Careerist, he put a post online that went pretty viral, and it got him a lot of attention on LinkedIn, where he was able to communicate how not just him doing a boot camp, but also him having that background as a correctional officer, how some of the similarities in it have like prepared him to be a sales engineer.
Yeah.
And he was able to like show some overlap. Tiffany did the same thing with her being in healthcare and being a sales engineer. She did a parallel that allowed her to go viral. And so, yeah, so I think for the people who feel like, well, my background, I don't really have anything that could like put me that's suitable for tech. Or for the people who, let's say you've applied to all the tech companies that are similar to what you used to do before, and you want to apply to others, also just being able to speak to those transferable skills or being able to like communicate. And really that's the biggest thing. I think the biggest factor, and it goes back to, you know, people doing a session with you or with others for like for their interviewing skills, is communication. Like you just knowing how to communicate either what you learned from the boot camp or from your previous work history, or from whatever, just being able to communicate why you are a great fit.
Yeah. Yep. That's the biggest piece in the confidence in who you are too, because I tell people, don't go in there acting like, oh, I just took a boot camp. No, show up as that. You have the knowledge now, so show up as that. But when I don't understand when people go into interviewing and they don't know how to present themselves as who they are. So when you go in there, you shouldn't have to look at your resume. You know what you've done. You were there. You were there. So and most times, you know, people that are doing the interviews, they are not looking. They already looked at your resume. So in an interview, they're not looking at the resume. They're looking at you. They're looking at how well you're able to communicate, like you said, who you are, what you've done, what you stand for, how you're gonna benefit this company. But you know, so. Like you said, communication is the biggest piece, but you just really have to show up as that person, the person that you're trying to become. Just show up as that person already. They can call BS when you're in there just saying anything. Like literally stand on what you've done.
Yeah, that's super solid. All right, so you did the boot camp. You were very particular about the companies you reached out to. You also had companies reaching out to you. Or you were particular about the companies you interviewed with that were, whether they were reaching out to you or reaching out to them. That's really dope. That's definitely something that I think will be a valuable skill set for people to have, because my method was the opposite of yours. My method, because I don't have like a heavy HR background, my method was like, yo, I'm applying to every sales engineering role I see.
Yeah.
Whoever hits me and says, yo, we'll do an interview with you. Or if I would reach out to the recruiter or hiring manager,
Yeah.
like as soon as I would get the interview, as long as at the time my minimum that I wanted, I think was like 75,000.
Okay.
My company, the first one started me at 90,000. And so yeah, my method was like, yo, as long as they're paying me enough, as long as I don't have to leave Georgia, I want it remote. But I found, just like you, the majority of these companies are remote. It's not even something I had to ask for. It was just pretty common. And so those are like some basic things I did. But I prefer your method. My method was a game of numbers. Your method was like a game of like strategy.
Yeah, it was process of elimination, definitely for me.
I think that's super fire. I love it. I love it. All right, so you've been in now. So how long has it been since you started at your company?
It's been, so I accepted my offer in October. So it's going on it's about to be 3 months. Going on 3 months.
Well, you accepted your offer in October, but when did you start?
So I started at the end of October. In the end of October.
Okay, so it's about 2 months right now.
2 months, January would
Okay.
be it. End of January would be.
So one of the things people ask all the time is like, oh, is there enough prep time before I start working? So I want to know, like, so you got hired as a SDR?
Yes.
BDR? Which one? SDR. Okay.
SDR, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I did have a 2-week preparation, but honestly, like I said, I had already left HR, so for me, I didn't even need 2 weeks. But they had a lot going on as a company. They had a lot of conferences and stuff like that they were doing, and also my VP was using a good strategy and when he wanted to bring us in. So honestly, it was only me and one other girl that got hired. And like I said, it's a growing company, so it took 2 weeks for me to start. I didn't need the 2 weeks, but it did take 2 weeks. But honestly, if you're worried about prep time, every company is going to have its own process of doing things. So you don't have to do that. If you got the offer already, the only prep you need to do is showing up on day one. So.
Oh, my bad. So when I was saying prep time, I was talking more so about, so like as a sales engineer, it's typical as a sales engineer that a company gives you about 12 weeks or 3 months of training before you start doing the job of a sales engineer. From what I've heard, again, I haven't done SDR, BDR, or account executive, but from what I've heard and from what I think I've seen, it looks like for SDR, BDR, there might be a month worth of training, and for account executive, it looks like it's like 2 to 3 months of training, depending on the company. So how much training did they give you before you were like out in the field?
Honestly, it was only 2 weeks. And I loved it that way because after 2 weeks of training, I was ready to hit the ground running. Yeah. So I guess I just knew that I was built for it. So I was just like, you know what, I'm ready to go. Like honestly, for week 1, I was like, all right, we got a whole nother week of training. But to be honest, after 2 weeks, I was already on the floor, but I was only doing like email outreach, LinkedIn, stuff like that. I wasn't doing any calling, and it was, I started that like right after Thanksgiving. So it wasn't really a good time to even start calling people, but
that is instant time.
Yeah. So he just wanted us to get, get acclimated.
So I guess first, because I know people are I saw people asking in the chat, like, what is it that you do, or what does a SDR do? So if you can communicate, because I'm sure you can communicate it 1,000 times better than I can, like, what is the role or the job or the duties of an SDR or sales development representative?
So basically, your job is to bring in clientele to the company. So these are CEOs, CFOs. For me, it would be finance managers, controllers. I mean, that might not be a word that you know yet, but controller. But yes, you are cold calling.
Controllers, is that, because even I've never heard that. Is that basically people that can call the shots or that can control decisions being made?
Yeah, so that's like if the CFO says, oh, yeah, I'm interested, their controller still has to be on the call, or they have to run it by them afterwards and say, hey, this is what we're doing. They put it in motion pretty much.
Yeah.
They don't have to actually know what they're doing. If a CFO says, hey, we're doing this, they have to put it in motion. So, but it's good to have your controller on the call. But pretty much, yes, you are cold calling. A lot of people don't want to cold call. But let me just say it in simpler terms so that you're not afraid to cold call. SDRs pretty much are just calling to say, hey, what are you guys doing already? This is what you already know who you're calling. So me, finance departments, I don't call them and say, hey, this is what we have, and I'm not being like salesy and stuff like that. I literally call them, see what they're already doing, see what finance programs that, accounting services or something like that they're already using. And then I let them know what we're doing, see how that could benefit them. I know that our software makes money for the client. So it's a win-win for them if they switch over. But you just pretty much, it's like a soft sell, honestly, because your VP or your AE is the one that's going to land the sale, or get the company to become a client. So SDR is pretty much like a soft sell. It's just like, hey, do you just want to see what we got going on? You set them up for a demo. If they say yes, that's how you're going to make your commission. Whether they become a client or not, you're still going to make that commission. As long as they show up to that meeting.
Hold on. Wait, I'm about to hate real quick. So you mean SDR, y'all don't get paid based off of if they actually buy or they become a customer. Y'all get paid just off of them saying, yeah, I'll see a demo or I'll be moved on to this person.
Yes. So but before you start your job, they'll let you know how much you get per meeting. But as long as the person shows up for the meeting, which you're gonna already have it set up for them, you're gonna send a Google invite or whatever you guys get, Outlook or whatever you guys use. But you send an invite to them, you call them the week of or the day before or whatever, hey, we still on for this. They say yes, they show up, you're getting commission. Now they say, I gotta think about this, that's not really.
So I do want to be clear. I know some people are going to get confused because one of the things that I've noticed, and I'm sure you being in this space have probably noticed it too, is that one of the other things, so one thing that scares people is the cold call. Some people are scared of that. But the other thing that scares people is that when they hear tech sales or they hear sales, they're thinking, oh, I'm basically getting paid peanuts and I'm living off of my commission. And I usually tell people, no. In tech, your base pay is really good, but your commission is just like the extra icing on the cake.
Exactly.
So I know as a sales engineer, generally our split is either a 80-20 split where like 80% is our base, or sometimes it's a 70-30 where 70% is the base. And from what I've heard and from what I know from tech sales, it's either 60-40 or sometimes 70-30. So with you, like, what is it like with you being an SDR in terms of like the split?
So that's the interesting thing about this about my company, how they run things, is that, like I said, if they become a client, then that's solely based on your VP. So they will have what you call a split with the company. We get the commission based off of them showing up. So we have a flat rate. We have a flat rate that we're not sharing with anybody else if we get them to show up. And it's unlimited. It's not like we have a cap on it. It's unlimited.
Oh my gosh.
So you could literally make 10 grand over what your base salary is. Dang. If you can get the amount of people to show up just for a demo.
You mean 10 grand extra a month?
Yes.
Woo!
Yes.
Hold up now. That's good money.
Yes. So a lot of people get afraid and they're like, oh, you really shouldn't be afraid, because when you're talking to people, you're just trying to get them to see what you guys are doing. Just come see it. And a good way to say it, and this is free game, is to say like, oh, we're offering free demos. Of course the demo's free.
But the way you word it, it's a free demo.
Of course it's free, but when people hear free, it's like, it's no strings attached. So you have the ability to come and just see what we're doing. It's not going to cost you anything. It's not, you're not signing the contracts. I even say we're not even trying to sell you anything yet, because we're really not.
Yeah.
We're just
because especially you like playing. I just need you to show up.
I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want you to see that our program is better than what you're already doing. It's going to make you money. So sometimes it evens out, or sometimes we even give money back to companies based on how much revenue they have coming in. So sometimes they're not even paying for the service, which is a good thing. But
I want to address something so people understand. She mentioned, she brushed over this earlier, but one of the reasons that the incentives that a CFO or chief financial officer or someone that kind of is in like the financial department of a company that she's reaching out to, the reason why they actually would want to talk with her is because their main goal is to either lower expenses or to make the company more money. That's the job of a CFO.
Yes, yep.
To either find ways to help the company make money and find ways to save the company money or cut costs.
Yep.
So with her job as an SDR, when she reaches out to them, she's essentially handing them an opportunity to either, depending on what her company does, and it sounds like she said her company helps companies make money. So she's handing them an opportunity to make more money or save more money. So she's actually just doing their job for them.
Yep.
So that's why like all the time, I'm always telling people, you know, this industry, like tech sales is different than most other sales, because most other sales in other industries, people are generally just trying to have somebody buy something. Oh, buy this thing that's going to cost you money.
Yep.
But I'm going to try to tell you how it's going to help your life. Like if you're selling like those Kirby vacuums, they used to sell it door to door. When you're selling a vacuum cleaner, yeah, a Kirby vacuum cleaner might be better than another vacuum cleaner, but it's like the average person is like, but like my vacuum cleaner works fine and it's not costing me money or making me money. It's just vacuuming myself.
Yeah.
Whereas in tech, many of the executives or any of the C-suite executives, CEO, CFO, CTO, all of those, they're thinking, yo, we have to grow this company, and in order to grow the company, more often than not, it translates into us making more money or us saving more money. So when tech sales people reach out to them, especially if it's a company where they have a product or something that's within the niche of their own company, they're more prone to listen. Not all the time they're going to listen, not all of them, but they're more prone to listen, especially depending on the season you catch them in. So that's why it's such a dope thing, dope thing to do and be a part of.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I didn't, and my reactions are genuine. I know some people think I'm just reacting. So I know a lot about this industry. I know a good bit about tech sales, especially because as a sales engineer, I have like a close relationship with account executives. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know that there were some companies, I'm not sure if it's all companies, I didn't know things like that where it's like, yo, SDR get paid just off them showing up. Even if the deal don't close, just if I just do my job for them to show up. And that's incredibly fire.
Yep.
That's dope. man, I'm so happy for you. So you're SDR right now, killing the game at your company. Is your goal to eventually transition or get promoted to an account executive?
For the,
I mean, obviously right now there's no rush. Like you're doing well. You just step into the industry, you're getting other opportunities. But
so
what are some of your goals?
Honestly, and this is not, to deter anyone from the tech space or anything like that. But for right now, yes, that is a goal for me, because I do see myself with this company probably 2-3 years, just making sure I grow within the company. But this company is very good with, if you come in, even if you come in as, inside sales, they have other departments where you can pivot to. I mean, when I say that they love this, they love when people come in with different backgrounds, because they're going to utilize that. They can always get, more salespeople or whatever like that. But if you have a finance background, they would love to have you in their finance team. If you have a marketing background, they would love to have you. Now, you do have to put in about 18 months in the current role that you come in at. Like, so if you start out in HR, but you want to go into marketing or partnerships or something like that, you have to do that about 18 months before you pivot into another department. So I'm going to say right now, that is my goal as I'm in sales. But I have been eyeing other departments, and then I have my own personal goals that I'm going to be doing other stuff. So for me right now, yes, that is the goal, but I'm already looking to see how, I could really, really, really make a bag with this company.
Yeah.
So.
One of the things, and I'm sure you know this already, one of the things I've been sharing a lot with people is how doing a job in a tech company that's a similar job to traditional industries you typically still get paid significantly more.
Yes.
So even like tech recruiters tend to get paid significantly more than recruiters in like other types of companies.
Yes.
Or even like you mentioned, marketing. Like people who are marketers at tech companies, their salary, even customer service. Like in tech, they have what's called customer success. Customer success teams, they get, even though they're doing virtually the same job as customer service at like a call center, they're paid a big bag.
That's very true.
So
yeah, that's what
so it makes a lot of sense. And that's why I even tell people, it's like, yo, you can do a lot of these same jobs just in the tech industry and like significantly increase your income.
That's very true.
It's super dope. We do need to. I'm sorry, we're way over time. Do you have like 10 more minutes to answer questions? We do need to answer questions.
Of course.
Okay, super cool. All right, y'all. So what we're gonna do, I think some of y'all have dropped questions in the question box. Okay, so we're gonna do this. We'll just leapfrog questions. So y'all don't put your questions in the question box. You could just drop them here in the chat. We'll do our best to answer them as quickly as we can, but the questions are gonna be coming in fast. So
somebody's asked me to tag myself. So
oh yeah, is it a bro? He like, yo, what's your at? What's your addy?
if he need tech services, I got him.
That's funny. My bad. I ain't even trying to make it awkward, but that's cool. All right. So someone asked where you work. So I'll say this: you can tell them where you work, but y'all don't think that you have to apply and work at her company. That's why I stopped telling people any of the companies, any companies that I'm at, because everybody starts applying to the company that you're at because they're thinking, oh my God, it's only your company. And I'm not exaggerating, y'all. There are nearly 100,000 tech companies out there that are, some are paying more than what she's getting paid. Some are paying a little bit less. Some have bonuses and benefits that are completely different and unique. So don't get caught up on being, oh my God, I got to apply at her company. Or thinking, because the other thing I've noticed people think is, oh, y'all are people of color, so I got to apply to your company because they're hiring people of colors. It's like we have to remove that junk out of our head and really expand. But anyway, that being said, I'm not going to tell you what to answer or what not to answer. I just want people to not get caught up on thinking that they have to flood your company.
Yeah. Well, as I said it before, my company is on site, so you would have to live where I live. So if you visit my page and you see where I live and you want to know from there, then yeah. But it's very specific to where I live, so I don't want to say what the company name is.
All right, so someone asked the starting salary. If you're not comfortable mentioning your starting salary, maybe you can give a ballpark range of what people as an SDR typically tend to get.
Yeah, so even in doing my job search, the lowest amount I saw was probably like 45 as a base, not OTE.
And that's a low base.
Yeah, but then that didn't even include the OTE. So in OTE, I'm pretty sure if y'all saw a lot of Cyrus videos and OTEs on target earnings. So, but that was the lowest I saw. But it wasn't a lot of companies that was offering that. It was only a little bit, but that was the lowest I saw. But if you are, even if it's a startup, because don't sleep on startups. Startups really pay some money because they have a lot of investors and they have a lot of money. Yeah. So, and my company is it's still a baby company. It's 12 years old, but it's doing big things. Yeah. And it services nationwide. So anyway, but a good ballpark for a majority of the companies is, I'm gonna say between 60. I'm gonna go to maybe 55 and 70 is what is a lot of what I'm saying. And
so you're saying that's a good ballpark
I want to say 55,
range.
but honestly,
you're saying that's a good ballpark range for a base.
For a base, right? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I generally tell people
60's pretty good.
I generally tell people that they can expect to make somewhere between, and this is everything included. I'm like on the low end. I always tell people, on the low end, you should be accepting something about 65,000.
Yeah.
with like maybe a 50 or 45,000 base pay. And I'm like, that's if like you're not making a lot of money in what you're doing.
Right.
But I'm like, but like you can get something. I've seen some people with numbers I'm not even going to mention because I know that those are abnormal. But what I usually see is on a high end is like a $80,000 to $85,000 OTE for an SDR.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, definitely. And definitely in fintech, if you're going for fintech, then it's definitely gonna be higher. But yeah, if you're adding OTE 80 should really be your minimum.
And that,
80 should be your minimum.
So I'm not gonna lie. So whenever I'm talking to people and just being transparent, whenever I'm talking to people, and I can tell that they're not the most like confident person or the most competent person, and or if what they're doing now, let's say they're flipping burgers or they're making 12, 15 bucks an hour, it's like, well, yeah, you probably should accept a an offer where the OTE is like 65, 70,000. But there are people like yourself, like if you and I had a talk, and I can't even remember how much we talked. Everything's a blur. I'm like talking to so many people, helping so many people.
Yeah.
But whenever I talk to people like yourself, I generally like tell them to go for the gusto. It's like, yo, you already have a job, you're getting paid well, you're competent, you can speak to a lot of different things. It's like, yo, you could go for like an 85,000, type of joint.
Yeah, 80 should definitely be your minimum. I'm saying the whole entire package. 80 should be your minimum. And that's just if you're showing up and doing your job. But if you really putting in work, that 80 could definitely be 100. It could definitely be over 100.
Yeah. Oh man, super dope. All right, so someone asked, what are some hard skills that help you stand out in fintech?
So, I mean, I already mentioned that I had 6 years in HR. So for me, I would say that, like I said, I kind of use that, leverage that to actually land a job in fintech, because when you work in fintech, most times you're going after, the money makers, the finance office. So for me, being in HR and having experience in doing finance for an HR office, that was the major thing, honestly, for this company, because that's who I'm calling. Even though I'm calling CFOs, CEOs, controllers, and stuff like that, it's still a part of human resource. So, so that was like the hardest thing. And then also, I've done recruiting, I've done interviewing before. So for me, it's less of me trying to like beef myself up and more of just being overly prepared and over delivering. Not even just to like sell myself, because honestly, when you're doing interviews, you might feel very burnt out from like just keep selling yourself and not landing something. Mm-hmm. But for me, it doesn't feel that way, because like I said, I come from an HR background, so I know what they're looking for. I know how to conduct myself in a meeting. And I know how to talk in ways that get them interested in who I am. And so those were pretty much like the greatest things that I had in order to get into fintech. Because honestly, I was not even looking to go into fintech. I was just like, I just want to land an SDR job, and just do what I got to do, because I already have goals, and that's what I wanted to do. So I wasn't looking for it. But when I got into the interview, I was just like looking around, and I'm like knowing exactly what they do, and I'm just like, oh yeah, y'all need me. Y'all really need me to be here. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was more so of my background. But I don't want to deter anybody from, if you're saying that you don't come from like a real strong background of anything, that can't be useful. But I would say that those are the hard skills. But I wouldn't say really focus on that unless you're going into an interview with a company that that they're servicing the career path you already left from. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. My
that was a good one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you can go ahead.
Recruiter cousin said, and knowing the right questions to ask that don't make you sound like a pushover. Exactly. I always, when I do the coaching for interviewing, I give away my bomb questions. Now they are my secret questions that I have that I use in.
You ain't got to give them here.
I'm not. But I give them my bomb questions to ask, because if you're going into an interview and they're like, do you have any questions for us? And you're like, no, you covered it all. No.
That's not good. No.
But I have questions specifically that you can ask them that is going to literally have them thinking like, oh, wow. Like I wasn't expecting her or him to ask these questions. And it gets them thinking and also gets them more interested in who you are. So, So yeah, it is about the question that you ask them as well, because they're not just interviewing you, you're interviewing them too, because you're going to be working there. So
yeah, and now that's good. That's super good. So we will do is I know we're like behind on day, way behind on time. So we'll do like 2 more questions. Unfortunately, y'all will have to jump off of here. So her at okay, never mind. Let me move. Yeah. So someone asked, was Course Careers actually helpful in helping you find a job?
oh, definitely. I had no idea. Like I didn't have like no knowledge at all about the tech space. It was as far as the electronics that I use. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like,
That's what people think when they hear tech. They're
that
like
was
electronics.
I know. Like when I saw you doing your videos, I'm like, and I had to reach out to you. I'm like, hold on. So I'm interested, but like, where do I fit in this tech space? But honestly, when I took Course Careers, I could have, like, I don't think I could have been more prepared going into interviews if I had not done Course Careers. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Literally, even though it gives you like the basics of everything that you're going to be doing as an SDR, and it gives you a little bit more than that too. But going into an interview, I showed up as an SDR already. Like I knew what I was coming to do. I knew, the ups and downs of sales. Like I knew everything, and I was prepared for that because I did Course Careers. If I didn't do that and I was just trying to pivot into tech, absolutely not. I would not have gotten the job. But I was able to answer the questions correctly and knowing what I was signing up to do. And when you come to an interview and you know that, oh, I'm here to do this thing, they love that, because it's like, I hope you don't think you're coming to relax, or I hope you don't think you're coming to do this or that. You know what I'm saying? They want to know that you're coming to do this job. This is the role. We gave you the requirements, but like, are you really showing up to do that? Yeah. So for me, if I did not take Course Career, I wouldn't even know what an SDR was. I wouldn't know how to answer the questions regarding that in the way that I did. So yes, Course Career definitely helped me land that job.
That's super good. Super. I'm trying to. All right, so here's a question for me. I'll let you do the last question. We'll do one more question after this. Someone said, if I take a boot camp to get into tech sales, how can I transition into sales engineering or any other tech professions? So doing a tech sales boot camp, it is extremely unlikely that you would be a good candidate for a sales engineering role because there is some very, very low level overlap between the roles, but on a grander scheme, they're very different roles. So some people try to do Course Careers. They're like, oh, it's much more affordable, so I'm gonna do this and try to get a sales engineer. And it's like, that's not gonna work at all, because you don't really know about the same way she already knows how to communicate. She already would have been a great candidate as an SDR just because of just her knowledge, her being smart, her being a very competent, sharp woman. But the boot camp, one of the things they did, amongst probably other things, it at least helped her understand the world of a sales development representative. To where she understood it, to where, just like she said when she was in an interview, she's like, oh, I already am an SDR. Likewise, if you do a tech sales boot camp and you try to apply for a sales engineering, you don't understand the world of a sales engineer. So even in the interview, if you will even get an interview, right, you're not going to be able to answer any of the questions or speak to anything that a sales engineer does. But what you can do, so if you end up in tech sales, let's say you do a tech sales boot camp, you get hired in tech sales, and you want to transition to sales engineering or maybe product management or something else, what you do is, just like she mentioned, actually that's perfect that you mentioned that. You work at your company. While you're at your company, either one, you utilize your company's education stipend, because most tech companies have an education stipend, yes, where basically they'll give you money for you to get educated in other areas in tech or further your education, what you're doing. You can either use their education stipend, so that way you can be educated in that and then apply to that role within your company, or apply to other companies that have that role. Or just like her company, there are a lot of great companies like hers where they will allow you to literally, you can transition to something else in the company after you've had a bit of tenure in your current role here. And then we'll have you start doing meetings with the other teams, and then kind of set you up to transition, to get training, to move over to the other departments. So that's like probably the best route to go if you don't want to pay for or can afford a sales engineering boot camp. So somebody said, what's better, course careers or careers? You'd have to ask somebody who did both, straight up. I can say that most people that I know who tech sales is in higher demand than sales engineering. So that's why numbers wise, more people that I know, even though this is the first person I brought on my live that's done course careers, more people that I know are getting hired faster by doing tech sales. But it's usually through an SDR, BDR role.
Yeah.
And usually in terms of pay, people that are like, no, I gotta start out at like $100,000, $110,000, $120,000. Generally, you either want to go for an account executive role or a sales engineering role. So that's kind of like the trade-off. But either way, I always tell people, like, you don't need to start at $100,000 because within 6 months to a year, you know, if you're at a decent company, and the majority of these companies are really decent, if you're at a decent company, if you're doing your job, it's like you're gonna be at or above $100,000. It's not really complicated in this industry. That's not a high number in this industry. So so either way, one isn't necessarily better than the other. But if you just want to get in tech quickly, course careers is probably the fastest route to go, specifically because it is a tech sales. In tech sales, there's more hiring going on for tech sales, less hiring going on for sales engineering, and around the same amount of hiring going on for like product management, cybersecurity, stuff like that. So anyway, I spoke on that. I'm gonna let you get the last question. Is there a question on here that you see that you want to address?
I guess we could do 2 in 1 because someone asked, do we make our own schedule, and about like how many cold calls a day. So yeah, you do have the opportunity to make. Is that a good question to answer?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah.
So you do have the ability to create your own schedule. No one's over my shoulder asking me what I'm doing for the day. And literally I go to work a little bit early so that I could just get my mind, try to get my mind right for the day, whether that's reading something, listening to something or whatever, getting my desk set up, because I like my space to look a certain way. But I go a little bit early, and then I go and look at my emails and my pipeline. And so if you go into tech sales, you'll know what a pipeline is, but it's pretty much where you find all the people that you're going to be doing those touches or making cold calls. It's not just cold calls. If I go in on a Monday and I just say I don't want to talk to nobody today, I can do 80 emails if I want to. Like, it's not that I'm cold calling every day. If I really don't want to do that for the day, I don't have to. So when I think of making your own schedule, yeah, if I have, they have a great work-life balance. So if I have stuff to do, yes, of course. But when I'm thinking of creating your own schedule, I'm thinking you're going into office and you are setting the tone for your day. So for me, I go in, if it's a Monday, I necessarily don't want to talk to people on Monday, or I'll wait until the afternoon to talk to people. But, it's not just cold calls. You do emailing, you can do LinkedIn. It's different forms of outreach. Yeah. And for my company, you only have to do 80 a day. So, and that's honestly, if you literally put your phone to the side and don't go on your phone for 2 hours, you could already be done half that. So, but if you're just like, lollygagging or whatever, you don't have a real set schedule for your day, then yeah, you'll get that by the time you're done 7 to 8 hours. But honestly, if you really tune in, I could be done my work half day. And I could either keep going or I could just call it a day. So that's what I mean when I say that you can create your own schedule, is that no one's like over your shoulder saying like, oh, in this hour, you got to make this much. If in the beginning of the day, I just want to do research on the people that I'm calling, I could do that. All afternoon, if I want to make calls or do emails, I could do that. So I have that flexibility in scheduling how my day go.